Standard model is the comically inadequate name that physicists give to the greatest scientific theory of all time. This theory is the poster child for success in reductionist science. It describes the universe on the most fundamental level and correctly predicts the result of every experiment that we have ever done, sometimes with unprecedented levels of accuracy. There are parts of the theory that are stunningly beautiful, with different facets sliding together like a perfect jigsaw, locked in a place with a mathematical rigidity that means large parts of the world we inhabit could not be any other way. But there are all other aspects of the theory that appear much less elegant, with a couple of dozen parameters that cannot be predicted from first principles but only by measuring them in experiment. These parameters then appear to be completely random. There are patterns within them that surely hint at some structure that lies beyond the standard model, a structure that we have yet to uncover. Boiled down to its essence, the standard model describes a bunch of particles interacting with three forces. These forces are the strong nuclear force, a weak nuclear force, and electromagnetism. The force of gravity is not part of the standard model, but it's straightforward to include it by coupling to a dynamical curved spacetime. Claims that the standard model is incompatible with general relativity are widely overblown. The two theories work perfectly well together at all energy scales that we can currently probe by experiment. The difficulties only arise when energies approach the Planck scale. Each force in the standard model is associated to a Lie group. The upshot is that the standard model is built around the group G equals why nature chose the number 1, 2, 3 as the building blocks for her most important theory is not known. But you cannot help but smile at the decision. Here SU3 is associated to the strong force, SU2 is associated to the weak force, and U1 is not associated to electromagnetism but instead to an electromagnetic-like force known as hypercharge. It too plays a role in the weak force. The theory of electromagnetism that we know and love can be found hiding within the SU2 factor. Despite the group theoretic similarities of each force, the resulting physics is wildly different. That's because quantum field theory is cool. It does wonderful and unexpected things. Part of the purpose of this lesson is to learn about these things and why the dynamics of the strong, weak, and electromagnetic force all play very different role in our world. These three forces interact with matter, which in the standard model come in the forms of 15 Weyl fermions, which collectively go by the name of the electron, the up quark, down quark, and the neutrino. And why we give just 4 names to 15 fermions is part of the story that we will unravel, but at heart, it is to do with the representation theory of the group G. At this point, one of the deepest facts about nature rears its head. The subtleties of quantum field theory mean that This quartet of particles, the electron, neutrino, and up and down quark, have to come together as a collective. You don't have a choice. The theory with just say an electron and an up quark and no companions make no sense. On grounds of mathematical consistency alone, we are obliged to have this quartet of particles with their particular properties. This is where some of the most beautiful aspects of the standard model can be found. But then nature has a surprise, one which we've known about for almost a century and yet we are seemingly no closer to understanding. Nature took that collection of four particles and, for mysterious reason, chose to replicate it twice over. This means that the matter in our world is not made of 15 fermions with 4 different names, but instead 45 fermions with 12 different names. The names of these 12 particles are shown electron, down quark, up quark. So electron, up quark, down quark, and then electron, neutrino, muon, neutrino, tau, neutrino. Also we have strange quark, bottom quark, and top quark. Oh, and also charm quark. Well, other than electron, we also have muon and tau. So if we create the table, it will look like this. Electron, let's say it has the mass 1, 207, tau 3, and one is down quark, strange quark, bottom. Six, 8,108. So the number here is the masses relative to electron masses, which is equals with 0.51. Each of the 3 rows in this table is referred to as different generation. The particle in each generation experience identical forces. So, for example, the electron, muon, and tau all have electric charge of -1. The downstream and bottom quark all have electric charge. I think -1 divided by 3. Up, charm, and top quarks all have electric charge. Positive 2/3. All 3 neutrinos are neutral. Similarly, the 6 quarks all experience a strong force in the same way, while the electron, muon, tau, and neutrinos, which collectively are referred to as leptons, are all untouched by the strong force. The masses of the particles, so you can see that the smallest one is electron, and then followed by the smallest one is neutrino, and then electron, up, down. They span at least 11 orders of magnitude, maybe more. The masses of neutrinos are not well constrained. Why these particular masses? Why this ordering of masses? We have no idea. That's one of the outstanding questions that we hope might be answered by the deeper theory. There is one final piece of the standard model that sits lording over everything. This is the Higgs boson. It is, in many ways, the thing that ties everything together. In particular, all the masses listed above can be traced to the interaction of various fermions. So, interaction fermions with the Higgs field. The Higgs is simultaneously both the simplest and the most complicated field in the standard model. It is the simplest because it is the only fundamental, as far as we can tell, scalar field that we have so far observed, meaning that it is the only field to carry zero spin. It is the most complicated because, in contrast to fermions and gauge field, scalar fields don't come with many consistency requirements, which means that there are plethora of interaction terms that we can write down, and the only way we have to constrain their values is to go out and measure them. It is here that we find the 24 of so parameters that we cannot yet explain, and it's here that things get messy and interesting. This then is the standard model part beauty, part beast, a glorious and astonishingly successful theoretical edifice that so far has stood firm against everything that experimenters have thrown at it. Yet few believe that it can really be the last word in physics. The standard model, like the periodic table before it, surely holds clue for what lies beyond. Our duty as physicists is to understand the standard model as best we can, to learn its secrets, and if possible, to let it guide us to a still deeper understanding of the world. The purpose of this course is to take you at least partway on this journey.